Happy Friday. Bitcoin taking a little bit of a wick down today, right through that 7,300 low, or actually on Coinbase on the weekly chart here. The previous low was 72.96, wick down, and then it's back above it. But one thing I've been talking about today out on Twitter is, what is an actual break of support? And I use what is called filtering. I know a lot of technicians that have used it. It's something that I use when I try to determine if there's a key break or an official break of a support or resistance line. It's a technique that I've used for years. It's pretty traditional kind of deal when you're looking at trying to filter an actual break or not. Now, what I mean by that is the rule on this is, and it's not, I shouldn't say rule, I say it's a guideline. And the guideline is I like to see three periods, or let's look at it this way. Uh, Let me go to the daily real quick. One thing I'm looking at the daily, and I'm mainly focusing on this previous low at the moment. Uh, what I like to have a break underneath this support line right here is I like to see three consecutive settlements underneath the line. I know we wicked down today, and then we're back above it, which is a good sign that this area is buying interest or an area of support. And right now, if it closes above it, then there's not going to be any closes underneath the line. And I like to see at least three consecutive settlements underneath the line, and then I'd say it's going to break, and then look for the next support levels lower. Uh, Another thing, there's an or to this. If it actually closes, I usually use a guideline of about 3% below the support line. So if this closes 3% underneath, so it's a far enough distance, then I would switch this to resistance, and then look for support at the other levels. But for now, since it wicked down and it's still back above here, the uh, the support from this previous low is still in play, and that's actually a good sign that this could be a possible bottom in the market. Let me flip back over to the weekly, and this is what I'm looking at on a couple things. One is just the previous low that we just talked about, and we wicked above it. I like the confluence that I see on the 61.8% level, from the low of 3,100 up to the high of 13.8. The 61.8% level is 72.31. Now the same principles would apply to this. It wicked down below it, but I'd like to see three consecutive closes underneath this line, especially on the daily. If there's three consecutive closes under there, then I think this thing could easily go to 5,400, which would be the 78.6% Fibonacci, and then you have some other support levels on the extension off the previous low here at 6,400 and then just below 6,000. So those would be the next few levels underneath. But right now, the confluence between this Fibonacci here and then the full retracement at the 100% here, this whole area is the support I'm looking at. So far, no break on this, and I like the support here. Now, the other thing I'm looking at is the 55 exponential moving average, and this is on the weekly. So when I say I'd like to see three consecutive periods underneath the line, I like to see three closes underneath. Or if this candle ends up, closing 3% underneath the actual 55 exponential moving average. Right now, the moving average itself is about 7,900. So 3% of that, you're probably looking at around 7,600. Uh, if it actually settles below 7,600, and right now we're at 73.35. So if it closed today and the week ended today, this would be a break, and then that would be very bad for this moving average as being a guide, because uh, you got some resistance here, you got some resistance here, and then this candle right here broke to the upside. So you had a big support resistance flip right here and changed from a bearish market into a bullish market. Now, yes, we've been in a bearish market for a while, but this could be a spot here where the 55 exponential, even though it's being tested, is not an official break, of support until the end of the week on Sunday when it closes the week out. So we got until Sunday to get this thing back above 7,600, and if we don't, then I would call this a resistance point level on the moving average instead of the support. So we got a couple more days to figure that out. But on the daily, I'm looking at the 7,300, kind of 7,300 level as the support level to watch on the daily. And so far, we got a couple hours until close, or a little less than a couple hours, and right now we're above 7,300. So it's not no guarantee that it's going to, close above there. So we might get the first close underneath the line, and then two more underneath the line, or 3%. A 3% settle or more would make this resistance at 7,300 instead of support. So when I say filtering out there, when I'm talking about if the support level's busted or not, that's what I mean by filtering. 3 consecutive days or periods, or 3% of the move, settled below. And since we're looking at support, I'm talking about below. This works for resistance going the other direction. That's why I think this one closed 3% right above here. So this would have been a break at this point to switch to where the thing became support instead of resistance. So just a quick few minutes on filtering. Any other questions or comments about this? Let me know if you use this technique or if there's a different guideline that you use, maybe 2 days and 5% or something along those lines. So it'd be kind of cool to know if there's other ways of doing this. It's just that that's what I've seen to work in the markets pretty well over the years, is that 3% level is usually about the point where people lose their pocketbook and it hits their wallet and they're saying, oh, I'm going to get the hell out. And it's typically on an average of about 3% move. When you start to see people just say, I'm going to try to ride this down, but I can't ride it beyond 3%, and then I stop it out and get out. So that's kind of where the 3% comes from, just from experience. So that's why I said it's a guideline and not a rule. All right, this is FiboSwanny. I'm out on Twitter. Hit me up if you have any questions. Peace out. Happy trading.